Hello again, everyone. Just wanted to let you know that the Leviathans Story Pack DLC and the Heinlein patch are now out for Stellaris. Let's go ahead and take a look at what changes we are getting. First of all, we've got some new portraits to take a look at. In the reptilian category, we've got a new cute reptilian. They're Geico geckos. Geico is an American insurance company, for those unaware. We have no new mammalian portraits, but we do have a new humanoid group that we'll take a look at in a second. We have no new avians. We do have a new arthropoid, and they're cute little butterflies. On the molluscoid side, we of course have the snails that I'm currently playing in my Spiral Mandate playthrough. And we've got the starfish, and let me tell you, the starfish make really cute sounds when you click on them to start up some dialogue. It's incredibly cute. Look at how happy they are! Look at how happy they are! And he's not doing it, but they'll wave at you when you initiate dialogue. And then there is a cute fungoid. There are no new plantoids. But then the humanoids. New category. We've got, of course, the humans. We've got the faux Klingons. We've got the faux Vulcans, or elves. And we've got these fine fellows and these fine fellows. And there's quite a few varieties for them. If we go, let's see, go to the ruler. We don't have phenotypes, but we have color variants. Only, what, 3 for the Klingons. Got quite a few hairstyles. And we've got a variety of clothes. Quite a few variety of clothes, actually. And, of course, there are males as well. So you can play as the Klingons if you want. You can play as the Vulcans. No phenotype and no color variation. We've got a variety of hairstyles. Of course, the classic Vulcan look. A variety of clothes. And on the female side, some very classic Star Trek-like hair. And a more traditional Vulcan-like one. And then some clothes. And on these guys, you got color variants. I'm not sure if these are drawn from any specific game or movie or anything like that. So nothing that I recall. So that's those guys, and then these. Got some color variants for them. And on the cute ones, I believe it's just basically going to be color variations for most of them. Yeah. Quite a few variants. These are a little bit more subtle than the others. For the butterflies. And, of course, for the starfish. Ah, there, he waved! He waved at you, everyone! Ah, he's so cute. Everyone will love playing as these guys. Alright, some other new changes. Let's see. Homeworld name and class. So, another big change is rather than having that wheel of having that wheel of 7 worlds, there is now a matrix of 9. We've got dry, wet, and frozen. Of course, continental is the default. There's ocean world and tropical world. And you will have a 80% habitability with the one that you choose, and then 60% with the other two in the same category, and then 20% with everything else. So we've got those three. Then we've got the arid, desert, and the new savanna world. And we've got the alpine world, which is new, Arctic world, and tundra world. I hope they change the tiles on the alpine world, because they kind of need it. Also, there is a new, of course, there's new icons, but you've also got colors to differentiate these. So these are blue, you got a green for this one, and then yellow for these. Okay, I don't know if they made any big changes to the ethics. I think they did make some changes, but we'll take a look at those in the patch notes. So let me switch on over to that. There we go. Alright, so big changes. Players can encounter powerful guardians that guard secrets and treasures. We've seen one of those in the Leviathans playthrough already. Enclave stations can be encountered and exist in 3 different forms: artisans, curators, and traders. Trader enclaves can trade minerals, energy credits, and sell strategic resources. And the strategic resources that they have can only be purchased from them. You can't find them on any planet other than that. Artisan enclaves can construct monuments and hold festivals on your planets. Curators can sell star charts, aid you with your research, and provide valuable insights into how to defeat certain guardians. War in Heaven can be triggered between 2 awakened fallen empires, resulting in a galaxy-scale war. And I've already had some of the new interactions. I got the In Limbo event in the Leviathans playthrough, and I did discover what that does off-screen, and so I am kind of sorry that I went with the one that I went with. If you download the patterns, you get fewer engineering credits, but if there's a Xenophile Fallen Empire, they will find out that you have that, and if you give them the data, they will create one of those pops on their species preserve. And not only that, but they will actually open their borders to you, which is pretty cool. Graphics, there are 5 new cute portraits: 2 molluscoids, 1 reptilian, 1 arthropoid, and 1 fungoid. Doesn't actually mention the new humanoids. Music, 5 new songs, a new main theme that will play if the story pack is installed and enabled, and I'm really liking the new music. It's very good, definitely fits in with the game, and one of the nice things is that, just by having played so much of it, it's nice to get the new variety. There's a new Federation victory condition. There's a new galaxy setup option, Max Fallen Empires. And that, I believe in the... so because you can bump that up to 4 now, they did have to add in a new Fallen Empire homeworld type, which is the world is named the Core. Haven't had a chance to look at any of that yet. The amount of habitable worlds, whether to allow advanced empires near the player at start, whether to use clustered starts, and whether to allow endgame crises. It is now possible to designate a colony as your new capital for a cost of 250 influence. That's pretty cool, especially as you start expanding and moving in one direction. If you, have completely colonized the southern part of the galaxy, and you're moving up along, one of the sides, that could be handy just to get better access to, cheaper access to new worlds and stuff like that. In addition, you could always move to a Gaia world, become a new, a new Fallen Empire. Added extra large weapon slots. Extra large weapons can only be mounted on battleships and have a limited firing arc. And that's where the Tachyon lances are going to be now. Tracking is a new stat for weapons that reduces the evasion of the target by the same amount. Most weapons now have a tracking value. So the higher the tracking, the better it is. It's going to be able to hit a ship with high evade. Point defense is now its own slot size instead of sharing space small slots. Torpedo slots have been added to the game, and you only get those once you research torpedoes. Auxiliary utility slots have been added to the game. Added 2 new habitable planet classes, Alpine and Savannah. Added a new humanoid species class with 4 new portraits. Added toggle to suppress pop factions, spending influence to drain their support over time. Auto-explore technology available in mid-game. Allows science ships to automatically survey. There's been a big terraforming rework. Terraforming stations have been removed. Any non-colonized planet within your borders can be terraformed for a cost. So once you get the techs, once you get the resources, actually, you don't even need the resources. The resources just make it cheaper to terraform, and there are other techs that allow you to terraform into different categories of planets. I've discovered this already in my off-screen playing. But what it is, it's actually pretty cheap. It's 1,000. Although I do have I don't know the exact cost. Let me put it this way. But I've been spending 1,000 in my off-screen game, but I also have both of the terraforming resources. And that's for anything within the same category. There is an option that I do not have yet that allows you to terraform a planet into a Gaia world. I'm looking forward to that. However, it is restricted to non-colonized planets. So you cannot terraform a planet that is already colonized. So keep that in mind. Sectors now have settings where the player can toggle certain behaviors on or off, and that is really, really handy. You can even have them colonize. You can have them purge, you can have them enslave, you can change their focus. So there's a lot of new options there. It's going to be pretty cool. Sectors now have settings where the player... Strategic resources have been reworked and now provide a global modifier to your empire, as soon as you have at least one of that resource without the need for buildings or modules, allowing you to trade with and for excess resources. The exceptions are alien pets and Betharian stone. And maybe some others, but those in particular, because you need those on the tiles in order to build Xeno zoos and Betharian power plants. Fleets can toggle whether other AI fleets should follow it or not. New, you can now set planets and fleets to be rally points. Newly built ships will move to the nearest fleet rally point and merge with it, or to the nearest planet rally point if there are no fleet rally points. When issuing a return order, your fleet will return to the nearest planet rally point if one exists, otherwise nearest starport. This includes construction ships and stuff like that, so you'll probably want to make some additional rally points, planetary rally points, to get your construction ships to go to those. General changes. Combat computers have been reworked, and each ship size has its own series of computers with different stats and behaviors. Space monsters now inhabit specific randomized regions of the galaxy. You will still find the occasional straggler among the stars, but in general, space monsters tend to cluster together per species, and more unusual specimens can only be found on their home turf. Void clouds now always spawn near the star in their system and guard rich energy deposits. Crystal entities now guard a few rewards. Aura components removed from battleships. It's kind of a shame. That actually made having a variety of battleships useful. Assault armies can now be recruited even if the planet has reached max capacity. New armies will automatically embark in transports. That is good. That is really good. It actually makes it worthwhile to build up defense units as well. It is now possible to resettle pops to and from sector-controlled planets. Oh, that'll be great. Strike craft can now move towards their own kill targets instead of their carriers. Strike craft and missiles can now use evasion. Missiles can now have health, armor, and shield. That means that better missiles, better torpedoes, and stuff like that, they may get hit by lower tier point defense and not be destroyed. New additional planetoid name list, updated old ones. I don't know if it mentions it in here, but there are also 2 new humanoid name lists, which are Vulcan-like and Klingon-like. Utility slots of most ship sections have been consolidated. Battleships and cruisers now have had a couple of sections removed and reworked. Space whale weapons are now always small slot weapons. New, it is now possible to ask empires to become your tributary and to offer to become theirs. Strategic resource deposits have been overhauled to fit the resources' new roles. A number of deposits have also had their spawn chances tweaked. Crystalline weapons are now no longer available to players. Interesting. Capacity overload edict is now unlocked by global energy management instead of New World's protocol. Droid technology is no longer marked as rare. Chance to appear is unchanged. Synthetic thought pattern technology is no longer displayed as rare. Chance to appear is unchanged. New galaxy setup options: max fallen empires, amount of habitable worlds, whether to allow advanced empires near the player at start, whether to use clustered starts, and whether to allow endgame crises. Policy tooltips now display how pop happiness will be affected. And it'll basically pop up saying, like, X number of pops will suffer minus 5% kind of thing. New Frontier Clinic can be upgraded into Frontier Hospital. Oh, that is really good. New Frontier Hospital is a new building. That's a restate of a previous thing, terraforming rework. Terraforming gases and liquids now significantly reduced terraforming cost. Terraforming is now available earlier in the game. You can now directly terraform any planet type to any planet type, so long as you have the tech required. It is still possible to terraform non-habitable... It is still not possible, to terraform non-habitable worlds, and there is no tech for it. Diplomacy. It is now possible to offer and request associate status with the Federation. Associate status acts as a non-aggression pact with the whole Federation and builds up trust between associate and all members of the Federation. Federation members vote on granting and revoking associate status. Note that if you want to attack an empire with associate status, the Federation will not defend them. So, that's pretty good. Technology. New Vitality Boosters increases leader lifespan by plus 10 years. New Frontier Hospital allows Frontier Clinics to be upgraded into Frontier Hospitals. New Mega Cannon unlocks the Mega Cannon Extra Large Weapon. A new Giga Cannon unlocks the Giga Cannon Extra Large Weapon. New, there is now a technology for terraforming tomb worlds and a rare tech for making Gaia worlds. That's pretty cool too. Although, remember with terraforming tomb worlds, you will lose the, what was it? Irradiated wasteland that gives adjacency benefits, research benefits. So, Might not be the best idea. Fallen Empire pops no longer have any negative traits and start the game with additional positive traits. Each of the 4 Fallen Empire types now have their own set of ship designs. Fallen Empires will now sometimes start with Titan-class ships. Xenophile Fallen Empires will no longer attack regular empires just for slaving purging. Materialist Fallen Empires will no longer attack regular empires just for researching AI. Xenophile and Materialist Fallen Empires will now sometimes offer tasks and make demands of regular empires that result in an opinion boost, if accepted completed. Xenophile and Materialist Fallen Empires will now sometimes bestow gifts on regular empires that they have a high opinion of. Fallen Empires can now awaken and become awakened empires if regular empires are growing too strong, if another Fallen Empire has lost planets, or if there is an endgame crisis ongoing. Awakened Fallen Empires get a new personality type and new goals and will attempt to force the rest of the galaxy to bend to their will. Fallen Empires now start with multiple levels of each repeatable tech researched. Fallen Empires no longer start with creature and crisis techs, matter disintegrators, etc. Wonder if that means that once they awaken that they will go research them. Important. Special projects that do not have a research cost no longer halt your research. Most special projects involving science ships have been changed to not have a research cost. So, all those secondary effects of anomalies no longer hold up your regular research. Very, very nice. In Empire setup, the planet climate wheel has been removed and replaced with the 3 climate categories divided by the state of the planet's hydrosphere. We've basically already talked about that. Certain techs are no longer needed to colonize potentially habitable worlds. I think what you need now is to have the percentage high enough. So you can't colonize... you can't colonize a world with 20% habitability anymore, it seems like. There might be something that allows that. I don't know. I haven't seen anything yet. Significantly reduce the default number of habitable worlds in the galaxy, player adjustable. Ships with hyperdrives can now only engage FTL from outside the system's gravity well as opposed to anywhere in a system. And this basically means that hyperdrive is the worst technology. Never go with... I did not know this when I chose to play as the Spiral Mandate, but I'm very glad that I decided to just go with something a little bit different this time, because this makes hyperdrive terrible. It used to be good, but this makes it... there's no reason to go for it now. Warp and... the wormholes, they're better now at this point, just clearly better. The being able to jump out from anywhere in the system was what made hyperdrive really, really good. And I mean, I would say that that's what made it balanced against the other things. You know, because in particular, if there's a system that you have to go through that has you know, space monsters in it, you're stuck. If there is, you know, if an empire has blocked off your hyperspace lanes, you can't get to it. So there really is just no reason to take hyperdrive anymore, in my opinion. Ships have had their armor and evasion rebalanced. Small ships have high evasion but low armor, and vice versa for large ships. Weapons have been rebalanced so that weapons are effective against ships of corresponding sizes. Large weapons are good versus large ships, but bad versus small ships. Armor penetration has also been rebalanced in accordance with slot size. Missiles can now miss and be evaded. Higher tier missiles now have more evasion and hit points. Point defense and strikecraft also have been rebalanced in accordance with this new design. Bombers deal significant damage to ships, and fighters defend against bombers. There is now a cap on how many ships can orbitally bombard a planet at the same time, so large planets won't have their defense fall in a few days to endgame fleets. Fleets that emergency FTL now go MIA and return to a friendly planet instead of being ping-ponged to death. Ships can now always are now always at risk of being lost during emergency FTL, with a chance depending on how damaged they are. Some general changes. Randomly generated starting homeworlds are now somewhat random in size, 16 to 20 instead of always 16. Earth is always size 16, and Unity is always size 18. Admiral skill effect on ship upkeep removed. Purge time increased from 6 to 30 months. Protectorate tech discount increased from 50% to 80%, but they can no longer trade research agreements. That tells me that the research agreements did actually work with protectorates, which I was not sure before. Protectorates are now much more likely to draw techs that their overlord has researched. Collectivists are now allowed to use xeno-slavery policies. Hard cap on naval capacity increased from 1,000 to 9,999. Holy crap. Removed blocker on colonizing Stone Age planets due to native interference policy. Instead, empires without full interference can only choose to establish enclaves once the planet is colonized. Thank you! Oh, thank God! Oh, that is a great change. That means that a xenophile can actually colonize a planet with Stone Age primitives now and get the benefits. Oh, that's good. Can no longer resettle pops to a planet if their habitability would be less than 40%. Removed planetary administration requirements to resettle pops to a planet. Oh, that is actually good, too. The damage reduction gained from armor now scales down with ship size, so a single piece of armor on a Corvette has significantly more effect than on a battleship, etc. Aggressive AI personalities are now more likely to be among the Empire's assigned advanced status at game start. Tile blockers that give adjacency effects can no longer be cleared. Oh. Oh. That's bad. So one of the reasons why that's bad is, so you'll get on some of the Tomb Worlds, and you'll find that the tile blockers are, you'd get more benefit out of removing one, for example. Like if there's two right next to each other, removing one may keep the same number of science tiles, but free up another tile that you can build power on or something like that. I don't like that. I mean, it's not explicit about that with regards to the Tomb Worlds, but I'm going to have to check that out, test that to see if that actually works that way. Because if so, that's kind of bad. Chance for scientist leaders to gain traits on level up increased from 7% to 10%, and I've noticed this difference. That has made a big difference. Chance for non-scientist leaders to gain traits on level up increased from 10 to 20%. That's pretty nice. Ethos spread should now be somewhat more even across empires at game start, so you are less likely to get an all-pacifist galaxy. Transport ships will not be targeted by hostiles if they are escorted by military ships. Low ship hit point no longer results in reduced maintenance cost. I actually did not know that that did anything. Generating wormholes outside friendly borders now takes 30% more time. Hyperdrive wind-up time now scales up with the origin system's distance to friendly territory. Warp wind-down time now scales up with destination system's distance to friendly territory. Diplomacy and war. There is now an independence war goal that can be used by multiple subjects rebelling together. Reduced opinion effect for relative power of subjects. That's good. That means that we may not see all of our vassals hating us all the time. You may now take conquest war goals on planets whose majority species correspond to the conqueror's founder species, even if your war philosophy normally does not allow conquering. Threat generation is now reduced when conquering empires that have aggressive personalities, and removed altogether for conquering fanatic purifiers and Wake and Fallen empires. War goals against allies of the main defenders are now more expensive to set. Only spaceports and military stations are now worth war score when destroyed. Does that mean fleets are not? I don't know. It is no longer possible to directly declare war on subject empires who would call their overlord to war. You have to declare war on the overlord instead. Removed not diplomatically relevant blocker modifier and replaced it with a border range modifier. Abandoned planet war goal now generates threat and costs the same amount of war score as seed planet. Fallen Empires. Fallen Empires no longer start with creature and... Okay, we've already seen that. And we've already seen that. Encounters and endgame crises. Space monster systems are now slightly less common. Crystal entities have been significantly strengthened and are balanced around corvettes, destroyer, and cruiser sizes. All endgame crises ships have had their armor and evasion rebalanced. Mining drones have been rebalanced and now guard valuable mineral deposits. Space amoebas now spawn in larger stacks. Space amoebas are now faster, deal more damage, and have more hit points. Space whales now deal more damage and have more hit points. Crystal entity weapons have been rebalanced so that small, medium, and large weapons use a scaling armor penetration. Upgraded the Nomad's arsenal and ship designs. Reduced the Nomad fleet hit points and damage bonus modifier from plus 50 to plus 25%. Overall, they should be stronger than before. Reduced hit points of Nomad arc ships and gave them basic weapons. Ethics. New collectivist empires now have faction suppression cost reduced by 10% and 30%. Individualist empires now have policy happiness impact reduced by 20% and 60%. Materialist empires now have building cost reduced by 5% and 15%. Xenophobe empires now get increased border projection. Xenophobe empires now gain plus max rivals instead of plus rival influence gain. Xenophile empires now no longer have a penalty to rival influence gain. Military empires now gain plus rival influence gain instead of plus max empires. Pacifist empires can no longer gain a penalty to max no longer gain a penalty to max rivals. Traits. Maximum number of species traits increased from 4 to 5. Trickster trait effective on evasion replaced with plus 20% combat speed. In addition, effect on emergency FTL damage increased from minus 25% to minus 50%. Aggressive trait effect on fire rate reduced from plus 10% to plus 8%. Cautious trait effect on evasion replaced with plus 10% weapon range. Scout trait now also increases ship speed by plus 20%. Governments. Despotic empires no longer reduces building cost, no longer increases slave, food, and mineral output. Now reduces colony influence cost by 15%, and now increases border range by 10%. Star Empire no longer reduces building cost, no longer increases slave, food, and mineral output, now reduces colony influence by 30%, now increases border range by 20%. That's pretty impressive. Modifiers. Opinions respected effect on happiness reduced from plus 25% to plus 15%. Opinions disrespected effect on happiness reduced from minus 40% to minus 20%. Actually, not even sure what those have to do with. Events. Lessen the odds of trouble in paradise and a change of heart occurring early in colony's lifetime. Added chance for it to occur after 4 years instead with very low odds. Changed trouble in paradise and a change of heart events, so they change ethics in one step towards the Empire's opposite, instead of instantly inverting it to the opposite extreme. Also added a check so that events cannot happen more than once every 5 years. Tree of Life anomaly is now 66% less likely to occur, but provides slightly better effects. Interstellar Railroad faction event now always removes 1 pop instead of a random amount. Okay, components. Added a new utility component, Afterburners, increasing a ship's combat speed. Thrusters now provide 0.369 chance to evade instead of +0, +10, +20, +30%. Sensors now provide 0.369 tracking instead of 0.246 chance to hit. Jump drives are now researchable for all FTL types, but still very rare. Laser weapons now deal 20% less damage to shields. Laser weapons armor penetration changed from 33% to 15, 30, 60%, depending on slot size. Plasma weapons now deal 20% less damage to shields. Plasma weapons armor penetration changed from 75% to 60, 80, 90, depending on slot size. Disruptor shield damage increased from +100 to +200%. Projectile weapons shield damage increased from 15% to 33%. Projectile weapons armor penetration changed from 0% to 0, 15, 30%, depending on slot size. Torpedo weapons have been reworked and are now only torpedo slot size. Arc emitters are now extra-large weapons. Particle lances are now extra-large weapons. Shield capacitor is now an auxiliary slot instead of utility slot. Power usage reduced from 50 to 20. Mineral cost reduced from 50 to 20. Crystal-infused plating, now an aux slot, and increases hit points by 5%. And mineral cost reduced from 40 to 25. Crystal-forged plating increases hit points by 10%, and mineral cost is reduced from 50 to 30. Regenerative hull tissue is an aux slot and reduced mineral cost from 50 to 30. Flak battery is a medium slot weapon, so that's pretty good, and range increased to 50. Flak artillery, also medium, range increased from 40 to 50. Cloud lightning, damage changed from 6 to 12 to 1 to 27. Range increased to 50. Accuracy increased from 75% to 100%, and now deals 25% less damage to shields. Deflectors, power usage has been reduced by half for all of them. It looks like okay, so all the shields have had their power usage reduced a bit, but the shield hit points have also been reduced a bit, which is kind of a shame. Let's see. Railguns, maximum damage increased for both medium and large. Kinetic batteries have had their minerals reduced and power usage reduced. Kinetic artillery has also had mineral and power usage reduced. Autocannons tracking set to 65%. Attack cooldown reduced from 3.15 to 2.35. Medium autocannons get 10% armor penetration. It was basically just a bunch of weapon rebalancing that I'm not going to go through more of. Swarmer missiles and whirlwind missiles are now medium rather than large slots, so that's pretty important. Missile evasion is 200%, making them impossible to hit by point defense for Swarmer and Whirlwind missiles. That's pretty impressive. Range increases for both of them. Sentinel point defense. Let's see. They deal a little bit more damage, and accuracy has had a tremendous boost across the board. Now they're all 80% for Sentinel, Barrier, and Guardian point defense, but their tracking is set to 20, 30, and 40. A bunch of technology changes. Amount of technologies required to access a new technology tier increased from 5 to 7. And they've increased the costs of most technologies. AI-controlled colony ships' technology effect on colony development speed increased from 25% to 50%. In addition, colony ship cost is reduced by 25%. And they basically done the same for self-aware colony ships as well. They've reduced the cost of a bunch of individual stuff. Synchronized defenses technology now requires administrative AI instead of active countermeasures, now more likely to appear. Planetary shield generator technology cost reduced by a significant amount, 1800 720. Planetary shield generator now requires improved deflectors instead of shields. Shield harmonics now requires advanced shields instead of improved deflectors. Focusing arrays now requires X-ray lasers instead of blue lasers. Bunch of... okay, so particle lances now require gamma lasers in battleships researched. Bunch of various things have been updated. I'm not going to go through all of them. New World's protocol is no longer more expensive than other early technologies, so that's good. Frontier Health now also requires genome mapping. Genome mapping effect on food output and leader lifespan replaced by reduced growth time by 15%. Not sure how I feel about that. Let's see. What other changes? Synapse Interceptor's effect on strike craft damage increased from plus 5% to 10%. It's basically just a bunch of technology cost reductions and stuff like that that I'm not really going to go through individually. Adaptive bureaucracy technology effect on edict cost replaced with increased leader pool and leader recruitment cost reduction. Living state technology now also reduces leader recruitment costs by 10%. Regulated slavery policies now contribute significantly less to neural implant tech weight than their unregulated counterparts. Xenocavalry now requires morphogenic field mastery instead of targeted gene expressions. Strikecraft engagement range increased from 120 to 130. That's pretty good. Occupied planets will now spawn garrisons when invaded, so they can no longer be sniped back with a single assault army. Armies are now able to heal in space when not in combat. Fantastic change. There's been a bunch of changes to spaceports, which should make them tougher. Higher base firing speed and damage. Hit points changed from 2,500, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000. Oh, actually, so it's just been compressed. Lower tier is better, higher tier is worse. Base armor has been dramatically increased, though. Also increased ship build speed by 0, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100%. That's actually really good. Now also gains 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 tracking. Upgrade cost reduced from 300 up to 1,000 to 200 up to 4,000. Really nice. Really nice. Effect on naval capacity changed from 6 to 11 to 2 to 15. Bunch of changes to the ships. Corvette base armor reduced from 3 to 2. Evasion increased from 0 to 60. Destroyer base armor reduced from 12 to 6. Evasion increased from 0 to 25. No longer receives a penalty to chance to evade. None of them receive a penalty to chance to evade. Cruisers base armor increased from 12 to 30. Evasion 0 to 10. Hit points 1,200 to 1,600. Battleships base armor 24 to 80. That's a pretty big boost. Base evasion increased from 0 to 5. Defense platforms have all had a boost in base armor. Let's see. Buildings. Mineral silos now also increase mineral output on adjacent tiles by +1. Oh, wow. That is actually not so bad. It might actually be worthwhile to build those then. especially on a big mineral-producing planet. It'll be interesting. I mean, you know, is sacrificing a single tile worthwhile getting the extra output on neighboring tiles? It'll be interesting to play around with that. Might actually make them worthwhile buildings then. Galactic stock market maintenance increased from 2 to 3, but now also has an output of 1 energy credit to allow for tile combinations. Not sure what that means. Power hubs no longer cost influence to build. Oh, that is fantastic. Mineral cost for Power Hub 2 decreased slightly. Power Hub 2 increase on energy output increased from 15% to 20%. Fantastic. And with the lack of an influence cost, this is probably worthwhile building on every world now. Mineral processing plants no longer require influence to build as well. Mineral processing plant 2 mineral output increased from 3 to 4, and processing plant 2 effect on mineral output increased from 15% to 20%. Space modules. Fleet Academy, ship weapon damage bonus removed, ship evasion bonus removed, evasion cost, maintenance cost, increased from 2 to 4, mineral cost increased from 300 to 400, influence cost increased from 50 to 100, ship fire rate now increased by 5%, and ship tracking now increased by 3. So those are actually probably pretty good. AI changes. War. Lots of tweaks and improvements to AI fleet movement and army handling during war. Sectors will no longer try to race you to build a station around a planet you have an order on. Sector AI will now build and use robot pops if permitted. Sector AI will now colonize if permitted. Fixed an issue where Sector AI would build labs of only one field. Lots of tweaks and improvements of Sector AI building, budgeting, and construction. Diplomacy. AI subjects that are disloyal will now try and rebel together. AI will no longer invite the player to wars they should have no interest in. AI will no longer repeatedly ask you to join the same war after being declined. Reduced threat generated for empires that you have a non-aggression or defensive pact with. So actually, if there's people that you don't plan to go to war with anytime soon, it's a good idea to set up non-aggression pacts or defensive pacts with. Fallen empires will now only send warnings to empires at -90 opinion or lower, change from -75. The AI is now more likely to select war goals against whoever they are declaring war on rather than against their allies. Lots of tweaks and improvements to AI acceptance and likelihood to offer various diplomatic actions to make the AI more diplomatically active. Oops, scroll down a bit much. Miscellaneous. AI empires will now genetically engineer their species. AI empires will now terraform planets. AI empires will now handle the cultist ship event. AI will no longer colonize with robot pops if they cannot afford more robots. AI will now more frequently build resource requiring buildings and unique buildings. AI will now remove buildings that have no use. AI will no longer build stations and systems with enemy fleets present. AI will not repair destroyed buildings during war. AI will now resettle pops. AI fleets will not follow friendly fleets that are about to upgrade repair. AI will no longer prioritize working food tiles on planets with only robots. Fixed a bug where AI would not build or use armies if current armies were lacking attachments. Interesting. AI should be better at using special buildings. Alright, big changes to the user interface. Ship sections are now clearly named after the role they fulfill. A drop-down menu has been added to the top bar. Many screens have been split up and moved into the top bar instead of being tabs in other screens. Strategic resources now have their own interface that can be accessed through the drop-down in the top bar. Expansion Planner has been added and can be accessed through the drop-down in the top bar. Player receives alert for having obsolete ship designs. Interesting. Players can now choose to keep all components up to date by toggling a button in the ship designer. So the way that works is that, let's say you have red lasers on a ship. You toggle that, and when you get blue lasers, the ship design will automatically be updated. What it will not do is replace any of those with missiles or torpedoes or anything like that. So you need to have some of the things for them to actually keep them updated. Buildings can be upgraded to their latest upgrade by shift-clicking the upgrade icon. Fleets will now have the build queue in mind when prioritizing best planet to upgrade a fleet on. It is now possible to add orders first in queue by control shift-clicking. Okay, that's good to know. I'll have to keep that in mind. I'll remember that one. Clicking Go To on a fleet will now go to it on the galactic map instead of zooming in on it in the system map, unless the camera is already focused on it. So basically, if you're in the galaxy map and you hit Q or Go To, you'll go to where it is on the galaxy map. If you're already in the system map, it'll take you to the other system. Fixed so that you get reasons why you cannot accept an incoming diplomatic proposal. Added a tooltip to debris. Debris is in special projects, I guess. Added debris contents to situation log entry. Now, I've seen that list things like thrusters and stuff like that, and I have yet to actually get any of that research from those. So I'm not sure if you can actually get upgraded thrusters and sensors and stuff like that through researching debris. Fixed so that switching selected planet doesn't close the construction menu in Spaceport Army's Planet View tab. Wormhole tooltips now state their progress and remaining time. Changes so that the winding up activity shows days left instead of completion percentage. Ruler ships should now be more distinct in the planet view. Holy World planet modifier icon frame is now properly read. Damaged ecology planet modifier icon frame is now properly read. I don't think I've ever seen that one. Added checkbox for filtering ship components by slot size. Tweaks to positions of various interface objects. A warning icon is displayed on incompatible save files. Various tooltips improvements. Graphics. Improved the bloom shaders significantly. Color variations for avians, arthropods, molluscoids, fungoids, and planetoids polished. Added missing color variations for some DLC portraits. Planet City lights are now more detailed and look less blobby. Arthropoid colony ship glass color now matches the rest of the ship lights. Large amoeba no longer have self-illumination on its entire body. Fixed alpha issues for Planetoid 04 and Planetoid 09 portraits. Strikecraft are now spread out a bit on the height axis. Adjusted Arthropoid 18 portrait textures and wings. Fallen Empires now have unique ship textures for each ethos. That's pretty good. That means that they won't all look the same. Fallen Empires now have unique cities for each ethos, although so far I've just seen that they have color variations. Star surface textures now tile properly. Holy World planet modifier has a new icon. Added a number of missing modifier icons. A bunch of modding changes. Bug fixes. Xenophobic robots no longer hate their builders. Hey! That's good! Fix some issues with shared threat where it would not correctly lead to anti-aggressor alliances forming. Let's see. It is no longer possible to leave a Federation while at war. Rebellion civilian ships are now treated as hostile by stations. It is no longer possible to declare war on empires you have invited as allies in a war. Fixed issue with nomads building too many new ships. I don't recall seeing the nomads very often anyway. Fixed Gaia World spawn chances not being explicitly reduced for inhospitable stars. Aww. It's kind of a shame. It was fun to get Gaia worlds around pulsars. Fixed issues with democratic elections, alternative parties. Issue caused the alternative parties to be invalid. Not sure what that means. Technological Enlightenment Progress Bar Tooltip monthly progress is displayed with decimals because it's smaller than 1. Because it's often smaller than 1. Fleet View Repair Order button enqueues the order last if Shift is held down while button is pressed. Fixed a bug where small and medium mining lasers had their range swapped. Interesting. Let's see. Survey fleet order checks if fleet can move to systems, so players can no longer reach out-of-reach systems using Fleet View Survey button. Fixed issue with living metal and strategic resource tutorial. I guess I've never seen that one before. That's another tutorial one. Let's see. Looking for anything else that really stands out as being important or interesting. Fixed a bug where Liberate Planet War Goal could create a pre-sentient empire? Oh, I bet that would be if you liberated a planet with some pops of the empire that you're liberating it from, but also still has pre-sentience. Fix some events erroneously adding ethics to level 1 and 2 robot pops, so that's pretty good. Anything else? Ah, good. Growing pops that no longer have a parent pop to grow from are now removed. Excellent. That is very good. Abandoned station no longer seem like they belong to random or unidentified empires. Used proper ordinal numbers for 11, 12, and 13. So no more 13erd fleets. Or 11th fleets. Oh well. And miscellaneous performance improvements. So that is the bulk of the changes. Didn't go through all the bug fixes because they're not really necessary. I'll include a link to this for people who want to go through them themselves. And, of course, if you are still playing a game on 1.2 and you want to continue playing it, if you go into Steam, go to the properties of Stellaris, go to the Betas tab, and just select 1.2.5, I believe is the previous version. You can continue playing that and then get back to the new stuff when you're done. Thank you all for watching, and I shall see you in the next videos of the Spiral Mandate. See you then, everyone.